You're riding with crappy brake fluid and you're afraid to change it. We're going to show you how to do it super simple, 10-minute change. Let's get going on this episode of Wrenchy. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to Wrenchy, and glad you could join us again. Today I want to talk about brake fluid. I've done this several times, but I don't think I did a specific separate video on just changing brake fluid. So today, let's cover why brake fluid needs to be changed, different types of brake fluid, and finally, how to do it, whether it's ABS or non-ABS. So let's get started. So what is brake fluid? Well, you know it's that stuff in the lines and in that little well in the top of your handlebars that starts to change colors and you think it's pretty. Well, it's the thing that makes you stop, right? Let's be serious. By pulling on the brake lever or pressing on the brake pedal, it presses brake fluid into the master cylinder, which pushes it down the lines to the slave cylinders, which drive pistons, into the pads, which grip the disc, which stop the bike, which saves your life. So, pretty important stuff. Does brake fluid wear out? Yes, it does. Why? Well, brake fluid is susceptible to heat and moisture and light. All three of those degrade either the viscosity, the properties of the fluid itself. For example, water in the fluid boils at a much lower temperature, 100 Celsius, 212 Fahrenheit, than the brake fluid, which is upwards of even as high as 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you've got water in the lines and you got hot brakes and you're running them hard and the water gets down to the brakes and they get hot and it boils, you get air in the lines, and air in the lines is not good for stopping. How do you get water in the lines? Well, brake fluid I think it's called hygroscopic, which means as soon as you expose it to air, just opening up the jar of fluid, it will draw moisture out of the air into the fluid. So this is a great reason why as soon as you open a bottle of brake fluid and you do a brake fluid change, even if you have brake fluid left over, you can't store it. Once it's open, it's open. It's like a good bottle of wine. You open it, you got to finish it. But that's a whole other story. The other reason it goes bad is because it's just like any other fluid in your bike, like oil, engine oil, fork oil, etc. It's under constant heating and expansion, and it will eventually break down just on its own. And the third is it is susceptible to ultraviolet light, and that's why your brake fluid reservoirs are either that, like on the Ninja 1000, they're just the standard kind of milky, translucent plastic. I know on Yamahas they have the nice solid aluminum black sealed units. Well, that's to keep light out. So there's multiple types of brake fluids. They're designated with a Department of Transportation, a DOT. I believe what it stands for. So it's pronounced DOT, D-O-T. Then a number, 3, 4, 5, and 5, period 1, or .5.1. So .3, .4, .5, .5.1. The .3s and 4s are glycol based. The .5 is silicon based. The .5.1 is also glycol based. The silicon based, I believe Harleys will call for that. I'm not sure why they need that particular one versus the glycol. Almost every Japanese bike, Ducatis, whatnot, they're all calling for the glycol based, the .3, .4 fluids. So those are fine. I run a .5.1. So that is, again, it's confusing. I'll put it up here somewhere, I just looked it up because I didn't know it off the top of my head. So your dot 3 is a boiling point is 205 degrees centigrade or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Dot 4 is about 230 centigrade, 446 Fahrenheit. And the dot 5.1 is 270 Celsius or about 518 Fahrenheit. Just if you're curious, the dot 5, which again is a silicon base, is also pretty high, and so that's 500 degrees as well. So there's your temperatures. The way you do it manually is really a pain in the ass, right? You grab your brake, let's say it's the front brake. Well, I'll do it this way for you. You grab the brake, you pump it up. You can even put rubber bands around it to hold the pressure on that. You go down to the cylinder, the slave cylinder, you crack open the bleeder, you bleed out the fluid, close the bleeder, pump it up more, rinse and repeat 1,001 times until it's all bled out, and you bled the whole new fluid through there. I did it once, I said I'll never do that again. There's a much easier way to do it, and there's a piece of equipment that I recommend you get, and there's various versions of it. Let me show you. This is from Bike Master. It is a brake fluid, vacuum brake fluid bleeder. Yes, a vacuum brake fluid bleeder. Okay, I'll put that down in the description so you can see what that is. There's a lot of different versions of it. What it looks like out of the box is this. It hooks onto a compressor. There's other models, not from Bike Bandit, from other folks, and Bike Bandit I think as well, where it's a pump, where you pump it up. This one happens to hook onto the compressor. I have a compressor, makes it easy. Has a couple of lines hooked onto it. The end of them are go over the bleeder of nipples on the calipers, and air line hooks up to the end, and you simply squeeze the handle, and as air blows out here, it creates a vacuum and sucks the brake fluid out of the lines into the vessel here, and it's neat, clean, really fast. So with one person, you can hook this up to your brake line, hook it up to your compressor, open up your master cylinder reservoir, keep topping it off, keep pulling the trigger, and just when it runs clean and the fluid runs clean into your vessel, you're done. Shut down the bleeder and top off the master cylinder, you're done. It's very, very fast. Now, I mentioned this one has 2 lines, so you can put one on each side and do them both at the same time, both sides at the same time, like for example for the front. You could also use this on your car. I did a high-tech modification on mine. I took one end, you can see that, and I drove a bolt into the end of it. Focus. There you go. Why? I did that because I wanted to block the vacuum from this line and only have it come through one at a time. It's just easier to use one at a time, I found, rather than having both bleeder lines open at the same time. So let's take a look at how we do this, and let's get busy. The brake caliper, as you see here on the one side, has a bleeder. That bleeder nipple is right here. And we just pull off the rubber top, and I think it's an 8 mil. I'll check that, 8 or 10 mil. And all you need to do is crack this just a quarter to a half turn, just to loosen up, and we'll be able to bleed the brake fluid from there. But before you get going on that, brake fluid is really not something you want on any of your painted surfaces at all. So I'm going to put down some rags and whatnot to catch any drips that might occur inevitably. So I'll put them down there. I'll also put some down on the top underneath the master cylinder. All right, all we need to do is take off this one little bracket here, which secures the cap to the master cylinder reservoir. Then carefully, you can notice, you can see where the level is. We're pretty high there. And carefully, we will open the top. There. So you can see that, those little dots, that's water. That's moisture. It's not a terrible amount, but that's moisture in there. That's what will happen. Brake fluid just sucks it in. So that's what degrades one of the things that degrades your brake fluid. And we'll take the rubber if you look in there, there's more water. Yeah. So it's not untypical. It's not atypical. It's typical. But that's my point. You get water in there just because I believe I'm saying it right. Hygroscopic. I'll look it up. It just sucks water out of the atmosphere, and so that's what you get. That's why it goes bad. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our device in here and just kind of suck most of the fluid out of here, because it's all fluid I want to get rid of. No sense sucking it all the way down through the lines. I'll just drop it in here and suck it out of there. And then I'll top off this with fresh fluid and start draining it from the bottom. So here's our brake fluid sucker upper device. Simply get it on the air hose. And that's it. You can see fluid at the bottom of this, and you can see that we've sucked almost all the fluid out of our reservoir. Okay, I've got my new brake fluid. This is nothing fancy. It's just a Wagner from your just auto parts store. You can see it's a 5.1 brake fluid. So we'll go ahead and top off the master cylinder, reservoir that is. Okay, so here's the nipple with our 10 mil wrench, and we just need to crack that about a half turn. There you go. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's already fluid trying to come out. So I just back that off, tighten it up just a little bit. Then we put the rubber fitting on. It just fits on top of the bleeder valve. And then we'll just crank it open with our wrench. So with that on, we just hit the lever, or the control. And I'm not sure the camera's showing it here, but you can see fluid coming down the pipe here. You want to keep an eye on your master cylinder to make sure it is not running empty, otherwise you're just pulling air. And damn, that's loud. Sorry about that, folks. All right, so now it's bled all the way through. I can see there's new fluid coming in, just the clearer color, and with just a finger on the finger on top of the bleeder, attachment to the bleeder valve. Excuse me while I get my head in here so I can see what I'm doing. Just tighten her up. And it's just snug. I mean, don't over torque this. This is just a aluminum casting it's in, so be gentle. All right, pop that off. There we go. Wipe off any brake fluid. Put the rubber cap back on. And we'll do it again on the other side.
This is Earth Radio. And now here's human music.
cap this off, we want to clean up the cap, get all that moisture out of it. So we've got water in there. We want to just mop that up. That's good. And turn our expansion rubber fully collapsed. Get the water out of the cap. All right. And with the handlebars straight, that's pretty close. We just need a little top off. And put the rubber in. Careful, if you've overfilled the reservoir, this will come shooting out. You don't want that. And cap. Torque. Okay. Easy peasy. We do the same thing here. Just remove the one little screw that holds the cap clamp on. You can just push that to the side, leave the screw in. It's easier. And undo the master reservoir. There we go. On the rear. And I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of moisture in that one as well. So got a little overzealous putting fluid in. I got a tad too much in there. So I'm just going to soak it up with a clean paper towel. Okay, so there it is, a quick brake fluid change. Pretty easy to do when you have the right equipment. I'll show you. You can see, I think you can see the fluid in the bottom there. So that's all the old fluid. We'll throw that in the recycle waste oil and take care of that properly. The owner's manual states that you're supposed to change your brake fluid every 2 years and inspect it periodically. I forget exactly the inspection. Every 2 years. Yeah, I would think so. I change mine probably once a year, unless it starts looking bad. What does it mean to look bad? Well, brake fluid, at least this brake fluid, is clear, light yellow color. When it starts to get dark, and I don't mean dark, but just when it starts to darken, change color, time to change it. So don't go too long. It's cheap, it's easy to do. They are your brakes. They're arguably the most important device on the bike, except between here, between the ears. So hope this was useful. Subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you like it, and I hope to see you soon. And in the meantime, ride safe, keep wrenching. Cheers.